Sawubona. That is how they say hello among the Zulu people of South Africa. It is not a hello like we say here in America. Hello, how are you doing? I'm good. You? I'm good, thanks. Never mind that after the last 2 years, no one can truly be good, in my opinion. Our hellos don't get that deep. We acknowledge each other's existence, politely pretend not to see each other's pain, and then go on with our days. Now, Sawubona means something more than that. Most literally, it means I see you. Not like, yes, you are there, occupying that space between me and my coffee and donuts, but in the sense that I see you, the fearfully and wonderfully made child of God before me. I acknowledge your existence, your virtues and your flaws, your burdens and your pains. I strive to see and honor the fullness of your being before me. Personally, I find that beautiful. And now you might be wondering why I greeted you in a language I don't really speak, from a culture I've only seen on screens, and what exactly it has to do with the 13th chapter of St. Paul's first letter to the Corinthians. To answer that question, I'm going to ask you to close your eyes and picture a map of the whole world, all 7 continents. Now, drop Antarctica away. As awesome as penguins are, they aren't relevant right now. Now drop away the Americas, North and South. Australia and the Pacific Islands have to go as well. Cut off Africa at the coast of the Gulf of Guinea, where it looks like you could slip Brazil right in to finish the puzzle. Now, blur up the edges as if you ate something spicy and your eyes are just starting to water. What you're picturing now in your mind is fairly similar to what the world looked like to Paul of Tarsus 1900 years ago. You'll notice that there's an awful lot of land and an awful lot of people that are missing from St. Paul's world. People with their own experiences and understandings of love. Hold on to that thought. It's important. You can open your eyes now if you were still holding them closed. And now I'm going to tell you a little bit about the first century Corinth that Paul was writing to. It was something like an ancient Las Vegas, a cosmopolitan city filled with travelers, Greeks, Romans, and Jews, and had so many activities that sailors and other people could really enjoy on their days off and their breaks. The wealthy of the city prospered from the poor and the slaves and spent much of their time in decadence and feasting, having a big party while others toiled. About 20 years after Christ was crucified, Paul came to the synagogue at Corinth and started building a church there, both of Gentiles and of Jews. And at first, things were going well. Things always go well at first, right? But after not too long, this new church found that it had some questions about what exactly it meant to be Christian. They were a little unclear on that whole love your neighbor part, and more than a little fuzzy about what do justice, love kindness, and walk humbly with your God actually looked like. So the Apostle Paul wrote them a letter, not so that they'd have something nice to read at weddings, but to clear up a few of those things as best as he could. Love is patient, love is kind, love is not envious or boastful or arrogant or rude. It does not insist on its own way. It is not irritable or resentful. It does not rejoice in wrongdoings, but rejoices in the truth. It bears all things, believes all things, hopes all things, endures all things. Love never ends. In my mind, that's probably the most beautiful thing Paul of Tarsus ever wrote. Unfortunately, that's not all Paul wrote to the Corinthians. Parts of Paul's first letter to the Corinthians have been used to justify some horrible things. Slavery, spousal abuse, sexism have all been justified at some times by some of what Paul wrote to these Corinthians, who were trying to understand what it meant to love each other and be just towards each other. But Paul has some words for us on how we are to make peace with his own mistakes. When I was a child, I spoke like a child. I thought like a child. I reasoned like a child. When I became like an adult, I put an end to childish ways. For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then we will see face to face. Now I know only in part, but then I will know fully, even as I have been fully known. I want you all to remember back a few minutes to that map of the world you pictured with all the blurry edges, and take a second to fill those edges in until you're picturing a full map of the world. That is a whole lot of people and a whole lot of world we know now that St. Paul did not know then. In fact, there isn't a single one of us zooming in today that is in a place that St. Paul could have even imagined in his day. Think about that for a second. A world with no Broncos. Just in our lifetimes alone, that mirror of ours has grown a little bit cleaner in a lot of ways. Desegregation, the moon landing, women's ordination, full marriage equality for LGBTQIA plus folks, the internet, just a few examples of how the world has gotten bigger and the way our understanding of love has been challenged and gotten a little clearer. I'm convinced that St. Paul never knew any children like the youth we have here at Good Shepherd. Of that, I'm convinced. Right here, we have some of the smartest, wisest, and kindest youth that have ever graced a pew. What I can't say is that we've had a world that's been especially loving to them. Since they've been alive, there hasn't been a single second of world peace. There have been multiple once-in-a-lifetime economic crashes, the climate crisis, and of course, there's the pandemic and everything else that has come with it. But still, our youth continue on. They have faith, they have hope, and most importantly, they have love. Their love is like something many of us have not seen before. These inconvenient truths and awkward facts that the love of older generations teaches us to ignore. Those things you don't necessarily talk about at the family reunion. They embrace and enjoy. They see each other to be loved, respected, and listened to. And that's the way they would like us to see them. Every hello from them is a sawubona, and I see you and I love you. If we can learn nothing else from the spirit that God has given them, we can learn how to love. And I thank God every day that God has given me the opportunity to get to know them all. Amen.